today's collectible spot, we are having a look at the Hot Toys Batman Arkham Knight 1/6 scale collectible figure. Spot was very excited to pick this figure up, and while in the past I have mentioned I'm not crazy necessarily of how Batman appears in the original Arkham City, I must say Hot Toys did a fantastic job on this particular figure, and looking forward to getting it opened up. For the side of the box, it says Arkham, then underneath it says Batman 1/6 scale collectible figure. And as for the back of the box, you've got Hot Toys Limited Batman 1/6 scale collectible figure. What's cool about the box though is it's magnetized, so you can peel away the side, open it up, and you've got the cast and crew responsible for bringing Batman here to life. Spot's going to take himself a break and get this opened up. When we come back though, we're going to get a better look at the Hot Toys Batman Arkham City 1/6 scale figure. There's more heading your way, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Just before we have a look at Batman, of course, we'll have a look at the display stand that comes with the figure. Now, it's a standard Hot Toys display stand. Nothing too different about that. The top of the stand has Batman Arkham City, and Batman featured on the front placard. There's nothing overly busy about the display stand, just your tried and true standard display stand. Kind of would have hoped if they had given us a more dynamic stand, but I'm understanding the fact that the cost would have gone up on him. I'm okay with it being just a standard stand instead. As for the figure itself, I really like how Batman turned out here. It's not perfect. It does have a few hiccups here and there that I'll point out to you, but I feel as if the pros more so outweigh the cons, at least when it comes to the 6 scale figure of Batman. Let's first have a look at his face. The face very much resembles Batman how he does appear in Arkham City, and really for that matter, Arkham Asylum. I think maybe one of the issues that I had, and if you remember why Spot really wasn't all that crazy when it came to the Arkham City or Arkham Asylum figures, was that I wasn't crazy about Batman's face, to be honest. I felt like he just had a really round looking face, especially like the lower face portion of his cowl. It looks pretty much the same here with Hot Toys, but you know what, somehow, and I don't know if maybe it's just because I'm more excited for Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice to come out, that this kind of, to me, is kind of the precursor of what we're going to get with a Bat Affleck, so to speak. I think I can I think I like this figure a little bit more than what I would have initially when I wasn't so crazy about the Arkham City figures. The face is good. Again, it's a little round in Batman's lower face, but you know what? I think, again, that's how we're going to be getting with Ben Affleck as Batman. That I think I've warmed up to the figure a lot more, or at least the design of the character a lot more since more information of Batman Superman has been released. So the face, while initially I wasn't crazy about it, I think I have started warming up to it now. The particular point to note as well with the Arkham City Batman is that he's got really long ears on his cowl. It transitions pretty good from the cowl section down to the neck section. It's not hindered at all, it seems, by any sculpt. Allowing the head not to rotate. It seems to do a pretty good job of rotating. I don't have any issues whatsoever. I also like, as we're going to touch base on in a second, the cape does a pretty good job of coming out from the cowl, and sometimes it can look a little too bunchy, but I think because the cape is tucked as far in and that the neck area of the cowl stretches as far as it does, it keeps the cape in line, which is not so much an issue versus some of the other Hot Toys Batman figures where sometimes the cape could be a plaguing issue. If you're not super crazy about the calmer look on Batman's face, the folks over at Hot Toys also give you a more angry Batman face plate. To accomplish the change, what you need to do is just pull Batman's head off. And there's a close look once again at Batman's face. Yeah, it's funny that somehow as an action figure, Spot really isn't crazy when it comes to the Arkham City and Arkham Asylum look, but somehow in a Hot Toys, I think just translates, to be honest, a little bit better for me. To change out the faceplate, it's not magnetized. Instead, what you need to accomplish, you need to get your finger back in there, and if you have like a screwdriver or something that can help you assist to push this out, Once you get your finger in there and you can kind of get your finger around it, pop the lower faceplate out and change it out with a much more angry looking bat face. You know, surprisingly enough, I think I almost prefer this face, and reaching again down to the original face, I think I prefer this face a little bit more than I prefer the normal, calmer Batman face. So much so, I might even keep Angry Batman through the whole rest of this review. Having a look at his bat outfit, it's pretty much the one thing that I find kind of becomes a conflict with Batman himself, and that is his armor. I understand what they're trying to get at, trying to make him armored up, but the end result is he's a little harder, a little finicky when it comes to moving joints. And the culprit is this rubber armor that they've given him. The bicep, for example, fits right around the area where the rubber sits over top of it. But areas such as his torso, it just feels really poofy. Like he feels very, very swollen, especially around the leg area. And I don't know if I would make the figure tighter. Like if I was to tighten the rubber on the back, it maybe makes the leg look a little too skinny. But it almost does come across a little on the poofy side. Like Batman's just been inflated with air. I think the cape offsets it. If not for the cape, I think that the overall proportions of him, he would look a little more swollen with his suit. The other problem with the suit is because it's rubber, it hinders a lot of the movement in his arms. You can move his arm to about there and to about there, but the whole time you're moving your arm, or not your arm, when you're moving Batman's arm, it does want to fight with you. And you can see this is all here is excess, this excess rubber on the back here. Again, I know what they were trying to go with, but like especially when it comes to bending Batman's arms and extending Batman's arms, you really can't do as much as maybe as you had hoped. It's not as limited as the '89 Batman, which because it has such a tight rubber exterior suit to it, it made it almost impossible sometimes to bend its arms. Batman here is a little bit better, but like for example, you can't move his arms completely down. His arms almost always need to be out just because of how much bunching the costume has in it. I love the costume, don't get me wrong. In fact, like I'm super excited that the Affleck, I keep wanting to call him that, but Ben Affleck as Batman, I like that his costume is really going to be mirroring this almost exactly, right down to the utility belt. The bat chest emblem is going to be a little bit different. And of course, he's going to have shorter ears. But this is pretty much what we're going to be getting with Batman. So, you know, I love the costume. I just kind of wish it wasn't as limited when it came to like moving arms. The legs aren't as bad. You can still move like the knees and stuff like that. But like the arms are really hindered, it seems, when it comes to arm posability. Here's a closer look at Batman's utility belt. It also seems to want to fight a little bit when you start adjusting him. When you start moving Batman around, his utility belt seems to want to hike up at times. You might need to be playing the game of, pulling the utility belt down a little bit. So for that, it doesn't end up looking like it's sitting too high up on his torso. The cape is good. I've got very little issues with the cape. It seems to flow pretty good. Now, with the cape, you could have it extended out. There is no wire frames to the cape itself. So you can't really pose Batman with like the cape extended, or you can't fold the cape in a certain way to kind of give it that dynamic flow that, let's say, like the '89 Batman had, that the Man of Steel Superman had. It sadly doesn't have that. It just has a very relaxed, relaxed look to it, just because it just feels like a rubber, almost like a rubber nylon kind of material that just drapes from him. It's okay. I wish there was maybe just a slight bit of a frame in there though, something that you could have adjusted and kind of posed the cape to your liking. One of the other issues I heard, a little bit when it came to this particular figure, a lot of people commented on the material that they used for the shin guards, as well as the material that they used for the arm gauntlets. I feel like I could kind of agree with them, though it does feel like the material, it's void of details. Not that Batman would have a lot of details because the coloring would match that of his gloves, but it doesn't have a lot of extra paint applications to it. It's very, very singular in color, and the material of it does feel like a lighter plastic. The little blades or little winged areas from his gauntlets are also a soft rubber. So at least that's good that they won't be more inclined to break off. But I do think though that the gauntlets feel a little on the thin, almost light plastic feel, especially when it comes to his shin guards, which you might be finding yourself doing this a lot. The shin guards seem to fit well enough over his feet in some instances, but when you start moving his feet too much, you can see how the shin guards, the little shin gauntlet areas, want to move themselves up. So you might find yourself adjusting the foot and then bringing this down as far as you can to do your best to kind of cover over it so that you don't have a big glaring gap in between the two. Batman's accessories will include, he comes with a silver bat claw or grapple gun. And the grapple gun, I find ever since the '89 Batman, the grapple gun seems to have that same consistent look where it's kind of like a round, just more of a handle, less like a gun and more like, you know, like he's holding kind of it where it's like a partial gun, if that makes any sense at all. The end, though, can be removed. Just pops off. It's a little difficult. Got to slide it right off. There we go. And you can replace it with one that has a broader claw. And this one tends to want to pop off a lot. But you can see there's the differences between the two. Other accessories he comes with is his Batarang. It doesn't fold or anything like that. It's a durable enough plastic. Some silver accents on the sides, a nice touch to that. He comes with his zipline gun, which I think Spot initially called his grapple gun, which I was wrong. But a little zipline gun, these little side bits move, which is a nice touch. And he comes with this, which I think is a sticky bomb gun, like a little sticky bomb grenade. Batman also comes with an extra 8 different hands ranging from I want to grab you and throw you against the wall. I want to take your head and smash it against the head of another, burglar. And then he's got a couple of little gripping hands for holding weapons. And he's got another closed fist. Now this one has a little slit in the top there, so it can hold, let's slide it in there, it can hold his Batarang. And finally, of course, the folks over at Hot Toys also give you a pair of extra interchangeable pegs. So if something happens while changing out the hands, you easily can swap them out for the ones that they come included with inside the box. When it comes to Batman's articulation, as mentioned, he has a really easy to move ball joint in the head. So he's got 2 ball joints, one in the head socket and then one in the neck socket. So you got a lot of movement going there. He has ball joint shoulders, and again, as mentioned, you might struggle a bit getting those to move properly. Especially when you start moving the arms too much, you might start seeing a bunch of the rubber costume at the top there. His biceps could theoretically swivel, although they will give you a lot of resistance because of the material of the fabric. And he's got a double bend at the elbow, but again, could fight it. You might have to fight it a little bit to get poses to stay. And then he's got a ball joint in the hand. He has an upper torso crunch. I don't feel as if it would stay properly, though. If you were to crunch his torso down, it would just basically settle itself back straight. He has a waist swivel, but again, that pretty much is eliminated just strictly due to the way that the fabric, or to the rubber of the suit, how it's constructed. Legs easily move. No problems whatsoever with the legs. He has a double bend at the knee, and he has a ball joint in the foot. I don't know why it is about the foot. I think what they've done is they've given him a longer, as you can see right here, a longer peg on the foot to clear past the gauntlet. but sometimes when you do move the foot, it does end up making it look really long of a peg where the foot area is connected, as you can see right there. Overall, I do feel like Hot Toys did a good job on Batman. There are a few hiccups, a few areas where maybe for the sake of making him a big, bulky Batman, it does kind of restrict a little bit of the posability when it comes to things such as his arms and his elbows. The overall costume works. I wish that the cape was a little more framed, that you could have done a little bit more with the wire manipulation of the cape. Sadly, it doesn't have that. But overall, I'm really, really happy with this figure. This kind of essentially is a precursor to what we will be getting with Ben Affleck as he appears as Batman. Would I recommend this figure? I would say yes, despite the fact that Spot may have had, you know, some opinions of the Arkham City and Arkham Asylum designs when we were looking at figures before. Somehow I find translates better when you have him as a Hot Toy rather than a plastic, 6-inch figure. So I would say, if you can find him, I would recommend picking him up. Speaking of picking him up, though, Spot actually picked up the Arkham City Batman from the folks over at FiguresVault. Spot's actually picked up Batman as well. If you remember, Spot also did the review of Marty McFly, picked him also up at FiguresVault, a fairly inexpensive online store that sells a ton of different Hot Toys and 6-scale figures. So I'll put the link down below if you want to head over there and pick up Batman for yourself. Today's collectible spot, we were having a look at the Hot Toys Batman Arkham City Batman. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have more Hot Toys and other collectible spots heading your way. Thanks for watching as you always do. I'll see you next time.